Just think quickly. Okay. In Nahwu, I have a few things that I must still do. Right? The few things that I must still do is, like I mentioned the last time, the majrurat. But really, to the harful jar and ism majroor, it's as simple as that. Harful jar, ism majroor. But I can make a lesson out of. Look here, sometimes the ismul majroor is like a word that's mabni. Fi ma, atakallah, ma. But I seriously, I don't know if we need to have a lesson on that. Right? Similarly for the mudaf and mudafun ilayh, it's not that complex. What we have after that is the tawabi'. You have a nahwu. Yeah. Go to the last page. Right to the end. Let's see. Okay, that's the very old one. No, it's fine, it's fine. It's fine. I know exactly. I was thinking of a table that summarizes all the stuff. So that's the majrurat, and after majrurat we have the tawabi. Right? We have the tawabi. The followers, like I mentioned, the words they don't have a specific hal, but they get their hal from another word. Right? And under that we have badal, sifa unat, tawkid, and atf. No. What am I talking about? It's not in the book. I can't. Let me just see if I have it on your somewhere. So what I'm going to do for you today is just so we can get a move on with it. Even those concepts are not not too intricate. So I'm going to give you an explanation of them now, and I'll compile some examples for you for homework that I'll send to you, inshallah. I'll just see if I have this. See in a second. Yeah. This is my account, man. Give me 1 second. Can you guys see all the stuff? Don't see anything. Um, nothing. Can I get that book, please? Yeah, sure. Exactly. Yeah. Save messages.
Another bite?
You see? No. Okay. That's all the stuff that we needed to learn, right? Those online, I don't know if you can see that. Just please say if you can or can't. The table. So
yes, we can see the table online.
okay. So in NAS we looked at المفعول به, مفعول مطلق, مفعول لأجله, مفعول فيه, مفعول معه, حال, تمييز. Okay, we didn't do المستثنى بإلا, but we'll leave that for now. اسم لا نافع للجنس we did, اسم المنادى we did. مستثنى بإلا, that like sometimes it's rough, sometimes it's nasb. So that's tricky when we do that afterwards. We're going to go through the causes of raf again. And المجرور بحرف الجر, you know that one. حرف الجر, after you have حرف الجر, you must have اسم المجرور. Whether the word is مبني, غير منصرف, whatever the word is, it must be in jar. That's the rule of it, right? And then you have the المجرور بالإضافة, a word being in حالة الجر because it is a مضاف إليه. مضاف إليه, again, I could do a lesson there where the مضاف إليه is a مبني word, or where the مضاف إليه is where the مضاف إليه is something like الذين or ما, right? But what the lesson would be there simply is, it's just a مبني word. But if you know you simple principles from first year, it's nothing new there, right? Even if it's a ismul mawsul, all that you know is it's mudaf to ismul mawsul. And the ismul mawsul must have a not sifa, silatul mawsul, right? A sentence, either a jumla ismiya or jumla fi'aliya or something like a jumla that qualifies it. Right? That's all that is. So then we move on to the last four. The tawabi', at-tawabi', the followers. What does it mean when we say these are followers? These are words that generally the construct is comprised of more than one part. The first part gets its meaning or gets its hal from a different function in the sentence, right? Like maybe the first word will be ismul majroor or something, but the second part of the construct just follows the hal of the first part, like the mawsuf. What hal is a mawsuf in? Mawsuf can be in any hal, depending on what function is playing in the sentence. But the sifa must have the same hal like the mawsul. There's one that's okay. There's one that's not there because it's not actually technically a thing. You did the ismul ishara and the musharun ilay, right? What hal is the ismul ishara in? It doesn't have a specific hal. It can be in any hal. I'll give you an example. If I say Ja'a dhalika ar-rajulu, what does that mean? That man came. So what hal is dhalika in? It's marfu'. Why? Because it's the fa'il of ja'a. Ja'a dhalika. Right? What hal is ar-rajulu in? It's in the same hal. Why? Because it's a musharun ilay. It must have the same hal like the ismul ishara. What about if I say fi dhalika al-bayti? What hal is the ismul ishara in? Fi, the injar. And what hal is al-bayt in? It follows the ismul ishara. So the ismul ishara is not in any specific hal. The mawsuf is not in any specific hal. Similarly, tawkid, if I want to emphasize a word, right? The original word is not in any specific hal. I can emphasize any word. What if I want to say those people, ulaika humul faizun. Those people, they are the ones who are successful. I'm emphasizing that it's them, right? What hal is ulaika in? It's rough because it's the mubtada. Them, it's also in rough. Why is it emphasizing that? So the original word can be in any hal. These tawabi', they take the hal of that word that they are related to, either by describing that word, or by emphasizing that word, or by being addended to that word, right? Or via being a badal, being that same word said in another way, referred to in another way. And I give you an example there. If I say, Ana Zakaria ibn Hidayatillah. Ana okay, let's not take Zakaria. Let's say, because Zakaria is mabni. That's not going to take that one. Let's say, حدثنا محمد ابن خليل الحداد. Okay, I just made that up now, right? This is an actual person. But حدثنا is a verb, right? Narrated to us. Who narrated to us? Muhammadun. That is in a rough because it's the fa'il. Right. Then I said, Ibnu Khalilin. Why is Ibnu in Raf? Because it's to say Ibnu Khalil is Muhammad. I'm just referring to him in a different way. Why? And when I say Al-Haddadu, Haddad means the blacksmith. No, the Haddad. Yeah. Al-Haddadu. So who's the blacksmith? If I say Al-Haddadu, Muhammad, that I'm referring to him in another way. I'm referring to him twice in different ways. So there's two badals. I could just say حدثنا ابن خليل. I could just say حدثنا الحداد. I could just say حدثنا محمد. If I could just leave out any one of those things, and the same meaning would exist, right? The same meaning would exist. Then that is what you call a badal. One is a replacement for the other. Right? It's not just describing the person more. One is a replacement for that. I could have the sentence meaning the same thing by, leaving any of them out. So that's what we call a badal. Atf, a ma'atuf, is when you add something to another thing. If I say, al-kitabu wal-qalamu wal-qirtasu على الطاولة. الكتاب is in which حال? رفع. Why? It's a مبتدأ. And kitab, so kitab is the first one. قلم, which حال? رفع as well. Why? Because it's just added to kitab. It's forming a list. And the qirtas, the notebook, it's also in Raf. Why? Because it's also added to kitab. It's just forming a list. So every successive thing in the list simply has the same hal as the first thing in the list. You understand? So is there anything? So we're not going to call it the first, second, and third mubtada. We're going to call it the mubtada, and then we're going to say the second thing, the qalam is ma'atuf ala al-mubtada. The other thing is also ma'atuf ala al-mubtada, added to the mubtada. When we start calling things a first and second mubtada, or first and second khabar, is when there's no wa. If I say, for example, Allahu Azizun Ghafurun. You see, there's no wahdi. Allah is the mubtada, Azizun is the khabar, and what is the other thing you say? Ghafur. Ghafurun is the second khabar, because there's no wah. But if I just had to put a wah there, then I would have said, Allah is the mubtada, Azizun is the khabar, and Ghafurun is ma'tuf, is added to the khabar. That's not a second khabar. Right? So that's the rule of it. So all of those things, sifa, you already know. You know what's the rule of a sifa? It must agree in gender. Tawqeed, same thing. It must have the same hal like the word, and generally it will agree in number and gender and all of those things, depending on how you are referring to it. Like ulaika humul mu'minun. Yes. Or I can say it in a different way. Ja'u kulluhum. They came, all of them. So I'm just emphasizing the them or the kullu. So those are all examples of just emphasis. Atf, when you have a list. Badal, when you have one word in the replacement of another word. Multiple things mentioned, each of them are referring to the exact same thing. They'll be in the same hal. Sometimes, okay, so then this is the detail that gets added. So when do you have atf? When you have a wa. There's some other huruf that are also huruf of atf. So now you can write this down. So what are other huruf of atf? There's one there on the board. Yes. It's in the grammar book. Okay. I'll formulate this. Okay. Inshallah. I'll do so. Inshallah. But I'm going to point out to you still in the book. No. This I will send you, but what I'm pointing out to you now is in your own Nahwu book. The first book is. First year. So it's on page number. Just one second. Oh, yes. Yeah. On page number, what page is this? 26, right? Page 26. Here's a list of the huruf that form a atfi construction, right? So if you have any of these particles before a word, then you know the word that comes after it is going to be added to something. So you have wa. Okay. But why has a number of different meanings, right? Like if I'm saying wallahi, then that's for qasam. That's a different, it's a harful jar, not this one. So what the wa that means and. Fa. Thumma. Oh. Amma. When you're just making a statement, if I want to say the bicycle or the car is outside, then I'll say as-sayyaratu aw ad-darrajatu kharij al-masjid. Oh, if I want to say is he a mu'min or a kafir, I'll say hal huwa mu'min am kafir. Right? Both of them mean or am. You can maybe just put a question mark there if you want to. O is just when you making a statement. Fa means then. Thumma also means then. But fa is immediate succession. And thumma is like delayed succession. Amma means as for. How will it form ma'tufi? If I give an example. Al-kitabu ala tawila. The book is on the table. Amma al-qalamu, as for the pen, فهو على الأرض. It's on the floor. I'll give you an example. So the qalam will have the same hal as the kitab. Al-kitabu ala tawilati. Al-kitabu is raf. Amma al-qalamu, so I want to say something about the pen, ala al-ard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type out an example for you of each sentence, a sentence with each of these huruf. I'm going to highlight where the harf is and which word is related to which word. Right? So all of those are huruful atf. So what we had there was, I'll go back to my previous thing. We have whenever you have one of these things, anything fulfilling one of these functions, it's describing another word, it's emphasizing another word, it is simply a replacement for another word, or you're adding things to a list, then the thing that is describing, emphasizing,